Hello. So welcome back to season 2 of Beyond the Ceremony. You have actually made this happen because I don't know if you've already listened to season 1, but at the end of season 1, I said, let's hope we get enough people liking, rating, commenting, subscribing so that we get a season 2. And here we are. You've made it happen. So thank you so much if you have listened already to season 1 of Beyond the Ceremony. If you've been in touch, if you've sent us your feedback, if you sent your comments, if you've liked, if you've subscribed, it's got us here. So we've got another season. So let's see if we can make it to season 3. Let's find out. But no, seriously, it is really lovely to have you here. We are so happy that you've all been enjoying the podcast. We've had some really great feedback at the Academy of Modern Celebrancy about the podcast. So it's lovely to have you. And a big thank you from me to making all the effort that you've gone to make sure that we can get a season 2. So yeah, it is very, very much appreciated. And it's as much our podcast as it is yours, because we really want this podcast to feel like a resource for the whole community of celebrants so that you can all kind of listen and make sure that you're benefiting from it. So yeah, it's really lovely to have you. So thank you so much. And if you are brand new, if you have never listened to the podcast before, then welcome. It's really, really lovely to have you here. I would suggest, if you are brand new, that you do go back and have a listen to some of season 1, because some of the guests that I had on season 1 were so incredible, inspiring, insightful. It was just amazing. We had some really great guests. So yeah, we're going to be doing more of the same, but also growing the podcast in even more ways, ready for season 2. So thank you so much if you have been in touch. Now, one thing that we will be covering more towards the end of the podcast, I'll let you know specifically how to get in touch. But one thing that we definitely want from you in season 2 is we want you to get involved and let us know what you want to see on the podcast. So who do you want to see me interviewing? Who do you want to see me having a chat with? What topics would you like me to cover? I'll be doing a few solo episodes this season as well, which are going to be just led by me. So they're really good if you've got some questions that you want to get in touch with. Perhaps we could do like a mid-season Q&A episode where you send some questions in. So if you are listening to this right now and you're thinking, oh, I'd love them to do an episode on that, please just get in touch, because you can make it happen. Look, you've already made a whole season 2 happen, so you can definitely make an episode happen. So just get in touch and let us know what you would like us to discuss. And at the end of the podcast, I'll let you know how you can do that specifically. So looking forward to season 2, first of all, you may have noticed if you are watching the podcast rather than just listening, that we have a new home. And this is literally my home. So the podcast is now going to be brought to you from home in my home office. And the reason that we wanted to do this is we wanted the podcast to feel more real for season 2, more grounded and a bit more natural. So we thought, what better way to do that than me start recording the episode from home in my home office. This is literally where I work as a celebrant. So this is where you'll find me writing scripts. This is where you'll see me having calls with my couples or my families. If I'm not, going to see a family in person, it might be that I have a call with them from the office. Same with couples. If I'm not going to meet them in person, then it might be that we do a virtual planning call. So this is kind of where I spend a lot of my time as a celebrant, a lot of my desk time. And I think especially people that come to AMC for training, I think they can be quite surprised in how much time we actually do spend working at a desk, because a lot of a celebrant role is done before the day itself. I always think it's kind of a 75-25 split. I think 75% of the work is done before the day, and then 25% of the work is done on the day itself. So being at home, being in your space, being somewhere that you feel creative is really, really important. So for me, for example, you can see I've got the beautiful trees out the window. I normally can see nice blue skies. Today, a few little clouds, but it's not looking too bad. I've got my candle going that you can see here next to me. I've got, I don't know if you can see this in the reflection, but I've got in front of me my happy board, as I call it. And that is just full of, inspiring images and things that make me really happy. So there's some pictures of my family on there, but there's also some thank you cards from my couples. There's some photos that I've had taken at wedding fairs in the photo booth with some other suppliers. I've got my certificate on there from when I won Wedding Celebrant of the Year. So there's all, things that inspire me in this office. And I think that is something that is really important when you start your career as a celebrant. You need to find a space that is inspiring to you, a space that you can feel like you can sit down and actually write your ceremonies and write your scripts, because obviously that is such a huge part of the role. So it's really important that you do that in a space that feels right for you. And as you can see, mine is very pink. So yes, it is inspired by all the things that I love. But yes, it's a great space to be in. So I'm really excited to be able to bring you the podcast from home this season. Plus, as well, that means we can go international again. So, of course, on season 1, we had a lot of fantastic international guests joining us. And that means that by doing the podcast virtually, we can keep doing that, which is great, because I think it's really interesting to hear stories from all over the world of how Celebrancy works in all different places. So, yeah, it's very, very exciting. So, season 2, as well as being more grounded, as well as being more relatable, as well as working from home, what have we got coming up for you? So I'm really excited to say that we are going to be having lots more actual celebrants on the podcast. So we're going to be having a lot of people who are already celebrants themselves, whether that be people that have just newly qualified or whether that be people who have been celebrants for years and got loads of experience. We're going to have a real mixture on the podcast this season, which I am really looking forward to. And all of the celebrants will be taking you through kind of their journey into celebrancy. I'll ask them to kind of cover what they were doing before and then how they got into it, that kind of thing. But they're also going to be bringing their own areas of expertise in the different topics that we'll be discussing. So similarly to season 1, each episode will be a different topic for discussion, and each episode will be brought to you by myself and a guest. And that's where we'll be kind of really diving into that topic in more detail. So hopefully you will be enjoying that, as well as other celebrants. Of course, in a similar way to season 1, we're also going to be having some guests on as well from other areas within the industry. So whether they are, funeral directors, it might be that we get other wedding suppliers on. It might be nice to, get a wedding venue on perhaps this season. I know we had a photographer on and a planner last time, which were, both great episodes, but it might be quite nice to have a venue on so we can talk to a venue about how it works from their perspective. And then in the funeral industry as well, obviously there are some really fantastic key people that we work with. So I'm really looking forward to having some great guests on as well who perhaps aren't celebrants themselves. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about on today's episode as we restart ready for season 2 is a kind of industry perspective of how things are going right now. So how is life looking in 2026 as a celebrant? So I think it can be very different whether you're working in weddings or in funerals, but something that everyone has seen within the wedding industry of celebrants is the fact that we are noticing a lot of couples are now leaving their bookings later to make their bookings. So perhaps, when I first started 6 years ago, people would maybe book and their wedding would be perhaps 2 years down the line. Whereas now what we're seeing is a lot more of our couples are leaving things a lot later than that. So they might be making bookings within 6 months of their wedding day. That's becoming a lot more common. So across the wedding industry as a whole, you can see a lot of suppliers who were saying that numbers were down for bookings this year, but actually now they're getting further into 2026. Those numbers are coming back up again. It's just the fact that couples are leaving it later to make those bookings. So that is kind of a bit of an insight into how the industry is working in terms of weddings. In terms of the celebrant industry as a whole, of course, it is a growing market. So yes, that does mean that you need to be on top of your game. That does mean that things like this, listening to podcasts, really making sure that you're always focusing on that continual professional development. That is really, really important to make sure that you are keeping up with everyone around you, fellow celebrants. But also what's really nice and what's been really interesting is the more people that are training as celebrants, the more we are becoming an essential item in life's most important ceremonies. So if this is wedding ceremonies, for example, we're seeing now that rather than, back when I started, I'd have these conversations with couples and it would be, oh, a wedding celebrant, what's that? I've not heard of that before. Now those conversations are actually more like, oh, well, who are you having as your celebrant? Or who have you booked as your celebrant? Or, oh, what are you doing for your celebrant ceremony? Like a lot more people are having celebrants now, which means that because the industry is growing, more people are training as celebrants, it's spreading the word, more people are having celebrants, more people are seeing celebrants when they go to weddings as guests, which then means that more people are realizing their choices that they have when it comes to ceremonies. So it is a really great place to be. Yes, it's a busy place to be. And yes, you need to make sure that you are continually working on your offering to make sure that as a celebrant you are keeping up with the market. But actually, I think it's a really positive place to be, because we are showing couples and families how much choice they have when it comes to these ceremonies. And we're all out there, we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, we're all shouting about how fantastic celebrant ceremonies are. So it is a very exciting place to be. So if you are brand new to the podcast for season 2, I'll just give you a little recap into myself, into kind of my own journey into Celebrancy. If you're a hardcore listener and you've listened to every episode from season 1 up until now, then apologies, because you will have heard this story before, but I'll keep it nice and short. Myself and my husband, we got married in 2017 and I loved weddings. I knew it was a world that I wanted to stay in after our own wedding. I really, really enjoyed planning our wedding, and I knew that it was something that I thought, actually, yeah, this is something that I would like to do in the future. So I decided in 2019 that I was going to train as a celebrant. So at first I trained in weddings and naming ceremonies. I felt at the start that I wasn't ready to be a funeral celebrant. I didn't feel like it was perhaps something that I felt emotionally ready for. I was worried it would be too sad. This is all something that changed further down the line. But to start with, I just trained in weddings and naming ceremonies. So at the time when I trained, we lived down in Kent, which I absolutely loved. That's where I used to work. I was working as a radio presenter at the time. So then a couple of years later, 2021, we had our first little boy, and I left radio, and that's when I had some maternity leave with my baby, and then I decided that I was going to push my celebrant work full time. So I did actually do my first wedding for a couple 6 weeks after having my son, which was just such an experience. I remember my mum came with me. I went in and did the ceremony. She stayed in the car with my son. And then straight after the ceremony, she came into the hotel and I went and took him into the coffee shop and went and fed him, because obviously I'd been without him for a little while. So yeah, it was surreal, but I managed to do that when he was 6 weeks old. So, that just kind of shows you the level of flexibility in this career. A couple of years later, 2023, our second little boy was born, and we decided that actually we wanted to move back closer to family. So that's where we moved to where we are now, which is just south of Stratford-upon-Avon, just north of the Cotswolds. So I kind of cover the Cotswolds and the West Midlands now. But it's fantastic because now we're a lot closer to family, which means that I get to see my family a lot more. They get to be a lot more involved with our children, which is so lovely. But also it did come with part 2 of starting again with my celebrant business, which was really scary because although I'd, had 3 years of experience, I'd been in the industry for quite a while, I'd made quite a few connections. They were all down in Kent. So I remember just being really scared when we moved to this area and thinking, how am I going to do this? But I just had to push, really go for it, get out there, network as much as I could, and managed to rebuild my business here. And 3 years later, I'm now at the start of the busiest year that I've had of my career to date. So it does work. You've just got to get out there and really push and sell yourself and just think, who am I as a celebrant? What am I offering? And yeah, your couples and your families will find you. So that was in 2023. Then 2024, I decided that I was ready to train in funerals. I'd experienced my own journey with grief a couple of years before that. In 2022, I lost my best friend, and she was always somebody that really inspired me with my career. She was the one that encouraged me to get into Celebrancy in the first place. So that really kind of changed my perspective on my thoughts and feelings towards funerals, and I realised the importance of creating a celebration for somebody that really felt like them. I realised how much it mattered and how much it matters to families to make sure that day is a perfect reflection of them. So that's when I felt ready to train in funerals. That's also when I joined AMC as a mentor, which was amazing. So I've spent the last few years mentoring some incredible students who have been studying to become celebrants themselves. So that has been just an amazing ride to be on with all those lovely students. So yeah, I feel like a proud mum when they go out and get their first bookings. It's been really, really exciting. So that's kind of brought me to where I am now, 2026, my busiest year ever as a celebrant in weddings and funerals. I've got 2 beautiful boys. One of them's at school, one of them's still at nursery, but I have that flexibility that I can work around the children, which I just absolutely love. And I get to spend my time going and delivering beautiful, meaningful ceremonies. I feel like I've found my calling in life. I definitely feel like this role is something that I was made to do. And I can't explain the feeling of how rewarding it is to see a couple at the end of their wedding ceremony and see how happy they are, but also to see a family, how happy they are when they actually come away from a celebration of life that really felt like it was just how it should have been for their loved one. That is just the most rewarding feeling ever. And I know it sounds funny saying about being happy leaving a funeral, because I know it's a terribly sad day, but also we can bring that light relief to them and that reassurance that they have given their loved one that send off that they really deserved. And that is just the most humbling feeling ever. So yeah, I'm very lucky to get to do the role that I do, and I really, really enjoy it. And of course, I still get to come and talk to you guys and do the podcast, which I absolutely love. So yeah, I feel like I am definitely spinning a lot of plates, wearing a lot of hats, but I'm absolutely loving it and really enjoying the podcast. And I'm just so happy to be back for season 2. Did I keep that short enough? My own journey recap? I don't know. Like I say, listeners of season 1, apologies because you've heard that story before. But for new listeners, hopefully that gives you a bit more of an insight into myself as a celebrant and what I kind of do now. So finally, before I wrap things up, I want to give you guys that all important information that you need to get in touch with the podcast. So we really, really want to make sure that this is a collaborative season. We really want to see what you want to hear from the podcast. Episode ideas, guest ideas, questions, anything like that you want me to discuss on season 2, please get in touch and let us know. So you can do this by commenting. You can comment on the YouTube videos, you can comment on the podcast itself, or of course, you can get in touch, send us a message, hello@academyofmoderncelebrancy.com. That is probably the best way to get in touch. Send us an email, let us know what you want us to cover on the podcast. And if you want to come on, you never know, you might be feeling brave enough that you want to come on as a guest. And I would love that. I'd love to speak to you. So yeah, get in touch. hello@academyofmoderncelebrancy.com with any ideas that you've got for season 2. And for now, I'm going to sign off, but I'm feeling super excited. I feel like it's going to be a really great season. I've got some great guests lined up. We've got some fantastic international guests again. We're going to be talking about some destination weddings in different areas of the world. So if you are abroad listening, then it might be that we're going to be discussing Celebrancy in your country as well. And if we're not, get in touch and let me know what country you're from, and let's do it. Let's make it happen. We're going to be focusing on getting some other really incredibly inspiring celebrants on who have got different journeys, but also celebrants who are experts in their field. So, for example, we've got one of the fellow mentors, Julie, coming on, whose background is in teaching. She was an English teacher. We're going to have an episode talking about the power of words in ceremonies. There's going to be all sorts for you. We're going to be absolutely jam-packed full of great content for you for season 2. Whether you're an aspiring celebrant, a brand new celebrant, an existing celebrant, it's really lovely to have you here. And thank you so much for coming back for season 2, and thank you for making it happen. I am super excited for what's to come. And for now, let's just leave it there. I'm Laura Crockett. I can't remember if I mentioned that at the start. If I did, apologies again. But yeah, I'm Laura, your host for season 2 of Beyond the Ceremony. Really excited to get started. And yeah, should we go do it? Let's go.